believe it or not, the 30th, the 30th edition of the Final Whistle here on LearMedia.tv. And thanks to everybody for all their viewing figures are going to be up, I must admit. That's down to the panel, not to me, in case you're wondering. And info@theirmedia.tv is our email. Red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. We're getting close. We're going to get up to 1,000 subscribers. That's all the advertising out of the way now. Good evening, Anna Moore, and welcome.
Well, good evening, Joe. I said, good evening, Pat, and a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. 29 again. Good evening, Joe. Good evening, Joe, and welcome.
Thanks, Pat. Good evening.
Good evening, Derwynne Honan. It's Derwynne, isn't it? Yes, Derwynne Honan, and welcome.
Hiya, Pat. How are you?
I'm very well. Good evening, Chris Price, and welcome again.
No, thank you very much, Joe Duff. Sorry, Pat Barry. I didn't realize we were on a live line here. So, yeah.
Now we'll fly away. The tennis is over. The first Grand Slam of the year is over. The tennis down under in Australia. Or do you see any of it or not? But the reason I have it on is Ash Barty seems to be, I mean, it's a trite thing to say at times, but she seems to be a genuine, really nice person. She struck me as that, and I think she's the genuine deal, the real deal, as I say, her third Grand Slam, and an Indigenous native of Australia, which is nice to see as well. And it was great to see on Goolagong presenting her with the trophy. That's Ashley Barty, and of course the 2Ks, Kyrgios and his partner won the doubles, the men's doubles, and that's another Aussie victory. And then we had Nadal winning his 21st, which is a Pyrrhic victory for Nadal. Did anyone of you see? I just throw that in there. Just to
talk about a hand grenade. Stop.
Yeah, I know, yeah. The world's number one wasn't there. He wasn't allowed.
No, but hang on a second. That's totally unfair. The world's number 2 was there, and if anybody could be if there was anybody who was more unpopular than Novak Djokovic, that's Daniel Medvedev. I mean, honestly, the guy would start an argument in an empty room.
Yeah.
Right, and you know what? He completely misread the room yesterday. Unbelievable.
I didn't see that. Now he's 24 years of age. He probably won't. He mightn't stay with tennis. He's an actual men's. Do you see any of it, Derwynne? Any of the tennis?
No, I've been too busy working, mate.
It passed you by. Oh no.
That's what you call it, Derwynne, in the sun.
Did you see any of it, Joe? Did you get to see any of it?
I didn't get to see it. No, we don't. I was up at the canal again this weekend, so I didn't get to see that. I came back to watch the football games.
Yeah, I saw the photographs of the dogs and all that, and they all out flying around. Yeah, very good. And did you get to see any of the tennis?
No, we're in the middle of our semi-finals of our under-18 and under-22 Irish championships at the moment. So
fantastic.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm at the stadium.
And we'll come to boxing later on. But anyway, look.
I watched the tennis, so I'd give you a few minutes if you want, just to let you know. Right? And don't try and gloss over it, in fairness, because it would be, I'm going to be honest with you, it was one of the matches for the ages. It was
just superb.
Brilliant game of tennis.
The two of them were literally
it was like gunslingers. That's what they were like. It was like gunslingers, right? And look, Medvedev is a brilliant player. Don't get me wrong, right? But he is his own worst enemy by a street. And you may say whether he'll stay with it, I don't know what. Well, look, for a guy who's 25 years of age and has won nearly $25 million, right? He'll stick at it for a while once there's more money like that to be made, because he will win. He will win more majors. I mean, he's the current US champion, right? US Open champion. But I mean, when you're going to venues like this, right, and you know you're not the favorite, right, and everyone loves Nadal. Nadal could probably pee in the street next week and everyone would still love him. You know, that's just the way things are with some people, right? They can do no wrong. But by turning on the crowd like that, you are asking for trouble, right? He did the same all tournament. He had this running battle for 2 weeks with the crowd over whatever was going on. And, you know, his attitude towards the umpire. We'll talk about respect, and Anna knows about boxing, and Joe will be about football, whatever. Respect for the officials. When you heard his outburst in the semi-final, that cost him a $12,000 fine. I mean, you're kind of thinking, man, what are you at? What seriously are you at? And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of people were just damn well happy that Nadal won yesterday.
Yeah, but I think anyway, we won't dwell on it too long. The Australian crowd are raucous anyway every year at their Grand Slam, no matter who's playing. But I think because of the Russian and the Ukraine situation, you know, and he being Russian, I think that there was a small piece element of that brought into it as well. But you know, you have
I wouldn't say that at all. I don't think that. I don't. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he's playing tennis long enough in it.
No, I don't think that. I don't think the Russian-Ukrainian thing came into being one bit. I think basically his attitude towards the umpire and his attitude towards the crowd from the first moment the shot was taken. And I mean, to be honest with you, I was watching the match yesterday. Like I said to my wife, I says, this guy is just an argument waiting to happen. And he was just I could tell at 7:30 yesterday morning before the matches, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an outburst or he kicks off. And he did. And it's just, do you know what? He's one of those players you could nearly tell what's going to happen. And that's what he did.
I think the final whistle is the program on learnmedia.tv, and info@learnmedia.tv is our emails, and thanks. And we will reply. We do reply to all emails. But we're moving along. I got it quite wrong last week, the NFL, when we fancied the Kansas Chiefs, and I think we called it for the two teams that lost. As far as I know, Joe. But Joe,
yeah, we did actually. Yeah,
two games like the Bengal and Kansas Chiefs. Kansas Chiefs are coasting in that match.
Well, they were. I mean, they flew off into. Didn't they go off into an early lead?
Yeah,
They
18
went
point
like
lead.
21. Didn't they go 21?
21-3. 21-3 by half time.
Yeah, they had 18 point lead.
And they were playing it. And then all of a sudden, they came out of nowhere and started playing again, you know, and actually started playing again, the Bengals. So it was, I mean, it was a great game to watch with the Bengals coming back all the time, and the Chiefs, just for everything that they were able to do last week and everything they were able to do in the first half yesterday, for it then to just, you know, just go downhill for you. And that happened to you. And then didn't the Chiefs win on a field goal in extra time last week?
Yeah.
And
the
they
Chiefs
won the toss.
Yeah,
They won the toss, and then they got the ball. They won the toss, I think. Did they win the toss again this time?
They did. Yeah.
And they threw an interception.
Yeah.
And then now they go down and they kick a field goal. And, you know, that's just the way sport is, you know. It evens itself out.
Well,
I'm a great believer.
What we did say, Joe, last week, it was just me, Joe, and Pat last week, we said that even though I fancied Kansas and the 49ers to go through, we did say that they're four fairly even match teams. And it could come down to defenses at the end of the day. And that's exactly what it came down to. Because basically Mahomes was running around like he was his trousers were on fire. And he was looking for that perfect score. He just seemed to, it reminded me of watching Arsenal play, taking maybe one or two passes too much to try and get the perfect goal. That he was now, one of the lads said to me today, well, Jesus Christ, that's fine, but he had nothing to throw to. But he was just, from what I looked at, he was just running around in circles.
And the Rams,
by time.
The Rams were 17-7. Sorry, the 49ers are 17-7 ahead, and they lost 2017. So you now have the 56th Super Bowl. This is the 56th, I think. I wrote it down in case I get it wrong. So you have the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's a home match for the LA Rams.
Yeah, it must be great for the Bengals. I was reading, Joe, that they won it twice, and it was in the 80s, 81 and 88. So I mean, this is a brilliant thing for them after all those years to get into Super Bowl, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of been a doormat franchise for a long time. You know, I mean, there were the butt of all the jokes and what have you. And even when Boomer Esiason, who does some of the TV work here, was the quarterback with him back in the when they went to the Super Bowl the last time, you know, they had a fine team then, they had fine coaching, and then it just went downhill again. But when you get a quarterback like Burrows, this guy has a chance. There's only two other quarterbacks in the history of the game that have won a college championship and an NFL title. One is Joe Namath with the New York Jets, and the other was Joe Montana with San Francisco. And now Burrows goes into this. He's already won the national championship, so he's got a chance to win this tomorrow. He's also the only one that's won the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be concentrated. Derwynne, we're going to move along now. Derwynne, for God's sake, what were Everton thinking of in appointing Frank Lampard as manager? Another 6 months. Another 6 months.
That won't last, though, will it?
Huh?
It won't last.
Well, what did you think of it? I thought I'm not an expert in soccer, but I think a shocking appointment again.
Well, it's probably started with picking Benitez to start with was probably the mistake.
Yeah.
But I can't believe Duncan Ferguson didn't get the job.
Yes, the board didn't like him. Apparently, I don't know. Like only reading.
I asked that question, Darwin, didn't I, Chris? There 3 weeks ago, I said that I thought he'd get it, but the lads were saying no. That Chris said no, they wouldn't give it to him. He didn't.
Well,
you didn't think he'd be a good fit, Chris. You didn't.
I didn't think he'd be. I think he's too. He'd be. He's not a yes man, and I think he'd be too abrasive for the board. He'd tell him to foxtrot Oscar now and again, and that's the problem. And I just thought that he went for it the first time, didn't get it. Why would they appoint him now? I mean, because that would be an admission of a mistake on their part by not appointing him years ago. So I don't even, whether he got an interview, I don't know. I would like to be a fly in the wall if he did get an interview, because I would like to know what the questions, the answers he'd be given. But no way. I mean, Frank Lampard, yeah, I could see that happening, because basically I think Frank Lampard is probably the only manager ever to be signed on transfer deadline day and not a player from Everton. So I mean, as a new one for a club like that, they actually appoint a manager on transfer deadline day. But Duncan Ferguson, no, never a serious consideration.
What do you think, Joe? Will he last 6 months?
To be honest, I just think the same thing I thought about Chelsea when he went there. He has not learned his trade as a manager. I mean, what did he have? 2 years at Derby or a year?
1 year.
Derby,
One year.
One year. So he goes from 1 year at Derby County, getting them into a playoff spot. I mean, how many managers have done that and never pushed on to get a bigger job? I mean, he was blessed in getting the Chelsea job, and they gave him all the tools he could possibly have to make it work with the signings they made for him. Yeah. And he just didn't get it done there. And then to come, I mean, he's really, what he needed to do was he needed to go to a different club that's a lower key club than Everton, so that you wouldn't have the pressure, and you don't have Liverpool looking over your shoulder on the other side of Stanley Park. You know, so I don't get a good feeling for this. When I saw it yesterday, I was like, whoa, hang on a second. And I mean, the whole thing is just such a mess anyway. With the other guy that they were considering for the job comes out and makes a public statement about his CV and how he doesn't deserve this with the CV that he's got, and what have you. So it was just, to me, it was just a mess all the way around. And I don't think it's going to finish well for him.
Well, they have Van der Beek on loan. They've got
right. And Dele Alli.
And Dele Alli is a done deal as well. Not that will make a difference to Everton, I don't think, myself personally.
What are they? Who are they hoovering up? I mean, who? Look at the players that are hoovering up. Donny van de Beek, you might as well have Van de Valk from the TV show. I mean, the guy hasn't got up. The guy hasn't kicked the ball in anger for like a year, and then they've gone from Dele Alli, who's more into WhatsApp and Instagram than playing for football. Let's be fair. So they're hooving up the misfits of English football.
That's right.
Yeah.
They could have had Salford fan hire for all it matters.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, what are they actually trying to achieve here? Again, Everton are spending money that they don't have, right? And on players who are not proven, right? And you look at Newcastle, I mean, Newcastle were going to go for Jesse Lingard, right? And apparently, the part of the loan deal was that if Lingard helps Newcastle stay up, Man United were to get a bonus payment of £12 million. And Newcastle says, "Well, hang on, that's out of order." And apparently, United turned around and said, "Look, well, it's like this. If you stay up, you're going to get a wedge of TV money. 12 million is just basically loose change to you guys. If you go down, then you won't pay us anything." So they went, "No, we're not taking him." Simple as that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that in itself was, I mean, if you're getting a guy like Lingard, again, he's somebody that's not played that much really in the past year, but he's a good player. He's a decent player. But, you know, if you get 12 million to stay in the Premier League, by staying in there, you get 100 million.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make you want to do that? And say we'll have a go at it.
Yeah, but that would be the first of that type of deal that's been made public, because that's basically that's holding the club to ransom in a way and saying, okay, you can have him, right? But if you so you kind of wonder, do they say it was like a case years ago where a player was like on bonus payments every time he got to 50, 100, 150 appearances for the club, that they would give money to the club that sold him. And then they deliberately didn't play him so that they wouldn't have to pay money to other clubs, right? And you kind of wondering, okay, we'll have him, okay, but if we don't play him and do we not pay the 12 million? And I just think, well, what is that what football is coming to now, where it's kind of like bonus payments for one player in a team event in a team?
Yes.
He's not all responsible for them staying up. It's the whole collective. So if you're saying, if Newcastle is so desperate and they may have done 2 or 3 separate deals with different clubs, 10 million here, 12 million there, 5 million there, they would have spent half of their TV money before they've actually gone up. Before they've actually collected it.
Well, I feel
it's
good.
Very, very downward. Very, very risky game to get involved in.
We have to go to Derwynne, the Man United, and they're still in the top 4. There was no Premiership this weekend, so they're still in the top 4, Derwynne. You needn't worry, Man United. But it was a feel-good story for Man United when Karna Scholzgar made her debut for the Man United ladies team in their 2-0 cup win. So interesting to see that. I was finding that. It's just a nice, interesting story. But also, Joe, Grimsby Town back to winning ways.
Yes, 2-1 win at home. And they've got a couple of games coming up that they play Notts County next week.
Yeah.
Then they play Aldershot, and then they play Southend, I think it is. So all winnable games for them if the teams that are all around them in the table. So I think winnable games for them if they can get their act together here.
They have 25 or 44 games played. When I say that again, 44 games, 25 played, 39 points, 6 points off the playoff spot. So they're doing all right. The top 4 for people who listen to this program in the championship: Fulham, Blackburn, Bournemouth, QPR. They might be making their way back, some of them, to the Premiership. And I'm just saying about any more soccer news. No. The Final Whistle is the program on theirmedia.tv. Tell all your friends about us. And our email is info@theirmedia.tv. We'll go on to the golf, Derwynne. And our man, not our man, Mr. Hovland won again.
Yeah.
And I got to see a nice bit of the golf. I don't know, it must have been by accident. 68, 69, a big 73, but then he finished with a 66. So he did the biz well in the playoff, but he did it. And Pádraig Harrington did very well. He finished at -7, 2 70s, 69 and 72. And Lowry finished at -4, 71, 74, 68, 71. But McIlroy, we were talking about it before you came on air. Is you know a bit about golf, Derwynne. Is course management as important as the clubs in your bag?
Probably more important.
There you go.
It's more
There you
important than that. I mean, you know,
And didn't McIlroy play that course so many times before? Many times before.
he's played it hundreds of times. But he would have been trying to drive 17 because he could knock it on 17. And then 18, you'd expect him to make 4 at. You know, it's a long par 4 for him nowadays. But that finish was, you know, wasn't his best.
That's putting it mildly.
But you know, if you think about it, you know, even over here with what Rose did at 18, when he hasn't been in the heat of battle for a long time, Justin Rose.
Yeah.
And he did the same over here in Torrey Pines. You know, he went for a shot on 18, which, you know, if he was back in the hunt of every week, he would have knocked it on that green quite simple. But, you know, he didn't quite get it, knocked it in the lake. You know, I think he took 6 or 7 at the end. 6, I think he took at the end. But, you know, shutting those rounds out are, you know, those last 3 holes in any tournament are crucial. But I think Rory just sometimes tries to push it too hard.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he's cavalier. I think he's actually very, very I think, you know, I mean, what he does is that he doesn't play the percentages, in my opinion. And I think he tried to play the percentages. Did he tee up with a 5-wood on the 18th?
I think he hit 3-wood.
3-wood.
Yeah.
But he didn't hit it very long.
No.
And left himself short.
Yeah.
So then he decided instead of actually going, what he should have done was lay up, leave himself a tidy, nice little maybe sand wedge, 60-degree wedge to about maybe 10 feet.
Yeah.
That for his birdie, it seems, and this is the accusation that has been leveled against him, that if he had a strong caddy, now he do have a strong caddy, that the caddy would have says, hang on, listen, you're not doing this right.
I think there's also an element where he's not playing for second anymore, is he? He just wants to win tournaments.
He could have won that.
I don't think he cares anymore. He's just going to go for it and try and win it, which is a little bit, you know, there's the one that, you know, another time he pulls it off and he's the hero. This time he was the villain. And
for all of us here who are trying to win something, the feel good stories from the Farmers Open. Luke List at 37 years of age, which is young, very young. At his 206th attempt, he wins.
Yeah.
206 scores and he wins.
He did the one, you know, when you go back to the European Tour for a second, you know, if you look at Richard Bland, he's finished well again. And he's on a run. That one win has given him so much confidence that he now thinks he can win. You know, Rory knows he can win. And that's two different mindsets.
But Derwynne, has Rory kind of lost the plot a little bit by chasing majors? I mean, because he's bound and determined to win the Masters, right? That's the one he really wants to win. Yeah. And is he putting so much pressure on himself that he just tightens up on it?
When you watch him nowadays, he just doesn't look happy out there, does he? Doesn't look like he's enjoying himself.
We talked about this last week. I read a quote from him saying he couldn't get off the golf course quick enough.
Yeah.
Derwynne, why do you think then, if he's not enjoying the golf, that he doesn't retire?
I don't think it's a case of retire and stop, get out of it. I think it's just a case he needs to go back to, you know, what got him into golf was the love of playing golf.
Yeah.
And then that turns into a bit of an obsession that I've got to get better, I've got to win, I've got to do this. Then it goes into another level where I've got to win the majors, I've got to do this. But somewhere along the line, he's just not enjoying himself. You know, I watched the interview like yesterday from Luke List, you know, and they interviewed him, and he was, to be honest, he was just happy to be there and be in that position. And you know, he was just loving it. Got interviewed afterwards. You know, you're in with a chance. He went and hit a few balls on a hole somewhere.
Yeah.
But he was enjoying it. You could see that he really enjoyed his day. You know,
Lowry,
when you look at McIlroy, he doesn't look like he's enjoying it.
But see, this is the problem I have, right, with McIlroy is this. He probably has one of the lightest schedules on tour, right? He probably doesn't play more than 22 tournaments a year.
Yeah.
Right? Which is basically 5 months.
Yeah.
Okay? So he has 7 months to do what he wants. He very rarely plays more than 3 tournaments in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a few years ago when he played 5 tournaments in a row, going back about maybe 6 years, he won the first one, came second in the second, and then when he got to the Irish Open, he missed the cut, and he said he was knackered. Now he's a fit lad, goes to the gym an awful lot, and after 5 weeks he said he was knackered. Now I think that's more mental tiredness than physical tiredness.
Yeah,
than
well,
anything
mental
else.
tiredness is very serious as well.
And but I just get the feeling that, you know what I mean, and I understand your point about, you know, it's kind of, to me, it's a cavalier attitude. You're right in saying that he knows he can win, but my problem is that, you know, I think he's doing himself a great disservice by not going for the win or basically playing the percentages at times. Because I'll be honest with you, I remember the days when Sevi and Faldo had to play 40 odd times a year to make a living because the pot wasn't that big. I think what's happening now in golf is that when you see a European Tour event like this having 1.4 million for the winner, and he's back off the States where he's going to get that for every tournament next year that he plays, at least, then it's just sure, whatever.
And Derwynne, as you're there, there's a few fans of a golfer who's been knocked around Europe for the best part, I think 10 or 12 years or more, is Fabricio Zenati. Did you ever meet him?
No, never met him.
I think he's from Paraguay originally, but he's been playing the European Tour forever. He's won a few tournaments as well, but he's always there or thereabouts. He's won a fortune on the tour, like he's making a decent living. There's a few fans in Shannon of Fabricio Zenati. We want to wish him well if he keeps going. I don't know what age he's at, I should have looked it up. Lydia Ko won the Gainsborough, Lydia Ko in the ladies. And Leona Maguire, her first tournament of the year, she finished in -1. She had an opening round of 73 and a closing round of 73, which scuppered her. She had 2 middle rounds, which are fine, but it scuppered her. But Lydia Ko, I wonder, will she come to the Irish Open, do you think?
Big time. Yeah, she'll be there.
Will she?
Yeah.
That'll be flipping great. Chris, we'll want your headset and microphone. We'll want all hands on deck. Joe, you'll have to fly into Shannon for that in September.
Right.
I'd be surprised if she turns up for that. Lydia Ko.
Oh, I bet she does.
Really? On what basis?
I think they've boosted the prize money for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. But I want to be considerate.
I think it clashes with one of the smaller ones on the LPGA.
All right.
I want to see the 2 Carter sisters, Nelly and Jessica.
I bet you do.
I do. I want to see them golfing. I beg your pardon.
They're normally accompanied by their 6'6" tennis player dad called Peter. So you're out of luck.
Peter Corda. We'll inveigle our way into the door of the locker room, will we, Derwynne? I'm only joking, lads.
You'll be safe. As a 70-year-old, you'll be safe.
Yeah, I don't know.
The paramedics be outside, Derwynne, just in case.
Carry that defibrillator with you.
Like
I won't be giving him mouth-to-mouth, that's for sure.
The husband says to the wife when he was in his 70s, I hope you don't mind me chasing young girls all the time. She said, no, sure. Dogs chase cars and they can't drive. The final whistle is the program here on TV. Tell all your friends about us. Now, we're on to boxing here. The fight is on. The match is made. The money is on the table. Taylor versus Serrano is headlining in Madison Square Garden. You would say the cathedral of boxing, because for 2 women boxers, even though one of them is Irish, to headline an event like that in Madison Square Garden. When you say boxing, women's boxing is still relatively young. It's 10, 12 years, 13 years old. To have two like that, Hannah, to headline the card. The reason I'm coming to you first, we'll be looking for tickets.
Well, Joe, I would give anything myself to go there. I think I might get up a GoFund, or you could send me over there to do the commentary for you. I wouldn't mind paying my expenses.
We're getting NUJ accreditation for you. It'd be great. Yeah.
No, I actually was very angry, upset when I heard what's his name, Aram. He's a promoter.
Bob Arum, yeah.
Aram, yeah, I can't not pronounce. Sorry. He said he has Stevenson and another guy boxing that night, and someone said to him, you know, it's clashing with the Taylor Serrano, and he said, but he said that's like Premiership and women's football. No one really watches. He said. I mean, it's very silly to think that, because I really believe it will fill Madison Square Gardens. I think a lot of Irish. Well, I would, but I just can't afford it this year because I have holidays already booked. But I definitely would love to be there. I really would. I'm on these websites for boxing, and I have to say the Americans are very arrogant. They're constantly down in Katie, constantly. Even though she's the best in the world, they still won't admit she's the best for pound boxer in the world. And I get very angry, and sometimes I say things I shouldn't.
We were talking about this one night. Katie Taylor has 20 professional fights. Serrano has 44. Now, obviously, Katie Taylor had a lot more fights as an amateur. I didn't look up Serrano's amateur.
Serrano didn't box as an amateur.
Well, then.
He didn't box as an amateur, and the thing about it is Katie has plenty contests. Yes, she has, and she's won them all. I am a bit nervous for this contest. I really am. Maybe if it wasn't in America, I mightn't be as nervous, but Katie has slowed down. She is getting that bit, she's getting that bit older, Joe, you know, but I think this is the one that'll either make her or break her, and it'll be the same for Serrano. It'll be the very same for her.
I must say now, Serrano has a knockout punch. Katie Taylor doesn't, never had a knockout punch.
Catcher. Huh? She's got the catcher to knock her out. I mean, Katie Taylor showed she had a glass straw against the Danish girl that time, Joe, you know?
Yeah.
And the Belgian girl. I can never pronounce that girl's name, but there's this guy that to be on, Bart something is his name, and every time we were on answering about Serena or anyone, first thing he comes up with is, oh, she never bet, what's her name? Parson, or can't think of her name. Can you remember it, Chris?
Pursoon, definitely Pursoon.
I can never think of it.
Pursoon,
constantly he's on about this. I said to him the last time, listen, that's over and done with. I said, you're like a broken record. Just get over it. I said, she beat her twice. You mightn't agree with it, I said, but she did. End of.
Well,
but the Americans, Joe, on the Serrano, on all the sites with Serrano and Katie's been spoken about this fight coming up. I doubt if two of them even would even consider that Katie was good enough to beat Serrano. And all Katie's won. And Katie has actually boxed, we'll say, tougher opponents than Serrano has. Now, Serrano, I respect her greatly. I think they're very evenly matched on their, you know, with their the contests they've had. But we'll have to wait and see. I think it'll either be a very good contest or I don't know. I'm just worried about it. Very worried about it.
Yeah, well, obviously she'd get. She said it'll be her final fight.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, I hope it's a winning one, but I have my doubts about it myself. If I had to bet, if I was a gambler, and I'm not, I would be putting my money on Serrano.
I wouldn't. I'd put mine on Katie. Even though I'm worried, I still think she can beat her, but I'm still that little bit worried. You know, I don't know, would it be in America maybe, and they're already talking about that Hernan is going to that Eddie Hernan is going to buy it for her. As I said, Eddie Hearn bought nothing for Katie. Katie won every contest she won, but they're making out that he's paying judges and everything.
Ah, so that's.
I know, but that's the Americans. That's the Americans.
Well, the Americans
Just
have
turning the volume down.
Yeah, the Americans have robbed more people out of boxing decisions than anyone else. Do you know what I mean? That time when Collins fought your man in the 80s, so I forget his name now, he won the fight hands down. He was robbed of it. You know, there you go. Anyway, Fury, our man Fury, will be fighting on April the 29th, as we're talking about boxing. He'll be getting a measly 24 million. And Dylan White will be getting a measly 6 million to go into the ring with him, which I think is a dreadful. Joe, I know you read much about this. It's a dreadful mismatch.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you know, they're willing to put the money up for it. I mean, that's what. To me, it makes no sense. But you know, someone's willing to pay for it.
And it's not for the money because poor old Joshua is out of the picture. I think nobody seems to want to fight him anymore.
But Fury, what will Fury gain by it? He'll gain nothing by it.
Well, he has to. It's a mandatory.
No
well,
choice.
The mandatory ones, they're ridiculous. I think they're ridiculous because
I think
80 had to box a few of them now, and they're just ridiculous.
Well, we wish Katie Taylor well on
April.
That's in April, but the Fury one is April the 29th, and Taylor's is early April, which is not far away. We wish her well. You never know, we might get a ticket or something for it. So when you're over in America there, you could take a hop up there to what part of the States?
Yeah.
Where are you?
I'm in Miami.
Miami, oh, Miami-Dade.
Well, you know now, Darren, I was looking at the sky and I'm seeing clouds and I said, yes, I'm delighted.
Any rain? Is there any rain there?
No. No, it's only 80 degrees today as well.
We're on to the Six Nations are starting next weekend, but before that, the Crash Bang Wallop will be all out in force next weekend. But Connacht were beaten by Glasgow in the Rugby Championship. The 42-20. Munster won away in Italy 34-17. Cardiff beat Leinster 29-27, and Ulster beat Scarlets 27-15. Anyone we see any of the rugby? No? Yes, I saw a bit of the Munster match, all right, but it was poor fair in thing. Now the Six Nations, Ireland are playing Wales. Is it, Chris?
Yeah, Wales, yeah.
Above in Lansdowne Road, is it?
Yeah, Lansdowne Road on Saturday afternoon.
5 o'clock. Is there something?
Not 2:15. We'll give you the result if you turn in at 5 o'clock.
What time is it on?
2:15.
2:15. Okay, I'll be out walking something, a dog or
Is it
something.
starting, Chris, at that time, or is it starting at 3 o'clock?
2:15.
2:15. Because my friend now, she's into rugby in a big way, and both of them were saying it was 3 o'clock.
No,
so I'll
2:15.
tell them tomorrow it's 2:15.
2:15, guaranteed. That the England-Scotland match is at 4:45.
All
That's
right.
probably the match that you're looking forward to seeing, Pat.
England, Scotland. Is that in England, in Twickenham?
I think it's in Scotland. Yes.
Oh, come on, our Celtic cousins. We have to be shouting for Scotland and England. And France, I presume they're playing.
Well, there's only one team left after that now, early. So you're kind of limited down now. I'll take it. It's Italy, Derwynne. That's the one. Fair play to you.
France are playing a practice game then. France are playing the practice match.
France will win it this year.
You think so, Chris?
Yeah, Ireland have 2 hard matches away from home, England and France. Very hard to win those 2 matches away from home. France are the info. And even though Ireland beat the All Blacks, so did France. So and they beat them very well as well. So
Yeah.
I just think they seem to have a bit more. They've shown a bit more flair. Their willingness to kind of ditch the game that they've been playing for the last 10 years or so. And and it looks, what's happened is that the French clubs have completely when it comes to the European Cup, they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater on that one. And they just don't care about it anymore. So they'd be well prepared. I do think they'll be prepared for this, and I think England will have too many injuries. I think Owen Farrell is a big loss. There's a couple of other losses with Johnny May, and I do think France, and it'd be a toss-up for second between Ireland and England. Might come down to the England for Ireland match for that.
But in the European Cup, I think French teams have 8 or 9 qualified out of the last 16.
Yeah, but no, yeah, no, they don't. They out of the 16 teams, Ireland have 4. England probably have about 5 or 6 anyway. They'll always have a fair proportion of it, but a lot of the French teams, they don't want to. Any of the French teams that lost the first 1 or 2 games, basically. I mean, look at the scores with Montpellier and Leinster, shambles. So I think they're knuckling down because there's only like 18 months or so, 2 years to the World Cup, something like that. So they're rebuilding, and they're going to be hard to stop.
Well, we'll just go back to soccer. I forgot to mention the African Nations Cup is down to the last 4 for people who might be interested in that. I was watching a bit of it, and I like the soccer actually. Cameroon are playing Egypt in one semi-final. Did you see any of that, Joe? Any of the African Cup of Nations? And
no, I haven't seen any of it up to now. I've watched little bits of it, but not really that much of it.
Burkina Faso are playing Senegal. So Senegal and Egypt would be the favourites to go forward to the final, and both led by 2 Liverpool men.
Yeah, Mane and Salah.
Yeah, on both teams, and I think it's a shame that it doesn't get any more coverage because there's some cracking players on some of the teams. Actually, players I didn't realise that were African, and I think it's a shame that it doesn't get more coverage because it's a way of promote. I mean, I don't know why FIFA or whoever's in charge of it doesn't insist on give it to terrestrial television stations like our own here, say like the BBC or where you are, Derwynne, and give it to more terrestrial television stations to cover. I don't know.
I'll tell you the reason for that, Pat, straight off, is because Sky Sports have the right for it, for the tournament, and Sky Sports have the right for the tournament, and
I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, Sky Sports have the right to the tournament, and they allowed the BBC to show 10 matches. That's all.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of these deals now, if you think about it, a lot of these deals are sub-licenses deals. I mean, the Winter Olympics have been bought by Discovery, which is Eurosport, and they sub-license out coverage to the likes of BBC and other channels around the world, and that's the way they do it now. And it's I mean, you would say, why didn't they do this and why don't they do that? The problem is they don't want to do it because they're signing big deals with certain companies.
Well, the Winter Olympics are starting this week, as far as I know, aren't they? They're starting this week.
Starting Saturday, yeah. So Eurosport and Discovery Channel have it, and they will call the shots on what the likes of the BBC are allowed to show.
I think that Ireland have sent a team of about 5 or 6.
We have 8.
8, is it? I thought it was 5 or 6 now.
8 gone over there, and there's one of them. She's there's one of them tipped of a possibility of a medal in, I know it's Deluge or something like that now. I should have.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a skateboarder who's competing in his 3rd Winter Olympics, and he was just off a medal 2 Olympics ago for Ireland. So he's from Colorado, but his parents are Irish.
I was just going to ask that. I was just going to ask, are they actually Irish?
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they all have a legitimate connection to the country because I checked it up. Either a grandmother, a grandfather, or a mother or a father.
So you've got Jack Charlton now.
So wherever
the Winter Olympics as well, is he?
Yeah.
So wherever they came from, they didn't qualify for that country, so they're qualifying for Ireland.
I mean, they have an option. It's like the Canadian American. She's 38 or 39. I was reading about her, and she's in the 2 men or 4 women or bobsleigh. And I know what happened in Canada, but
I'll tell you what happened with that one. There was allegations of abuse by Canadian coaches.
Oh,
He
wow.
made it. He
Oh,
made the
yeah.
allegations.
Yeah, basically what happened was that she made allegations of abuse, of mental, and I think there was a little bit of physical abuse. And she's married to an American, so she had represented Canada 3 times in
That's right.
Olympics, and then it took her 4 years to qualify as an American citizen, because in America you have to be a citizen of the country of America to go to the Olympics. It's not like Ireland where you can have a guy from Norway ski for Ireland. It doesn't happen like that. So they insisted, and apparently she had to learn the nationality test, and she's qualified with about 2 weeks to stay. But she basically had burned. I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I don't know too much. I read a bit about it, but by making those allegations, she burnt her bridges.
But in Britain, I mean, England is the same. All the countries are the same. So Mohammed Farah wasn't English, and look at all the medals he won for England.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a difference with Mo Salah in that he was 8 years old when he.
Mohammed Farah,
Mo Farah, the runner.
Yeah.
He left Somalia, which is a war-torn country, at 8 years of age to go to London. I think there's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a difference, Pat.
Just thinking of Murphy Patterson doing the slalom downhill for Ireland.
Did you guys see that in anything this morning, where the Chinese are spying on the Winter Olympic athletes on their phones? So all the winter, there's the winter athletes competing, and coaches and managers are using burner phones, because the Chinese are they have the ability to get their text off their phones, get their messages off their phones, hear what they're saying on their phones. So to keep what they want undercover, they're using burner phones.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just read that this morning in the the Daily Mail. I think had a headline on it this morning. And, how ridiculous is that?
Were you surprised by it?
No, I wasn't. That's the thing. I'm not surprised. I have a friend who has a plumbing company and here in Tacoma, and he had all his stuff made in China. And he said, as soon as you go there, that they're copying everything that all the plans that you're sending them, and then they're going to make them, and they're eventually going to put us all out of business.
Because they can do it cheaper.
Yeah, and they're manufacturing them there, so they're claiming it as their own and what have you. So it's just interesting.
There's a reason why, and I can tell you from my own job, there's China does not have copyright regulations like what we do, or trademarks. Because for the company that I work at the moment, you can people in China can basically sell fake bags, watches, or whatever, and claim they are real when they know they're not, and there's nothing to stop them from doing it because there is no trademark or copyright regulations in China.
And the only man who tried to stop him, Trump, that time when he put a big huge embargo, remember that, Joe? Put a huge tax on Chinese goods, but he's gone now anyway. But I'm just saying that I was always against China getting any Olympics, they clean up their act as a country. But look, you could make the case, as Chris was saying, in fairness, we don't want to single out any one country. You can make the case for many countries other than China for getting the...
And this is the thing, Joe, as I said to you before, I mean, I'm not comfortable with China having anything. I'm far from comfortable with Qatar having the World Cup later this year. I'm far from comfortable from a lot of events going to a lot of places. Like anything that happens in Saudi Arabia, I'm kind of wincing and thinking, shall I actually watch that damn thing? But, I think sport is not sport anymore. Sport is a business, and you have to realize that.
There's over 20 golfers going to Saudi Arabia for the Saudi Arabian International. Is that what it's called, Derwynne?
Yeah.
And they'll be getting more than the winning prize money.
But that's how they'll get them there. That's how they'll get them there. They'll up the prize money.
As you said.
Well, they get 20%. They make 20% of what their total earnings for a year
Wow.
just to show up and play in this tournament.
Yeah.
20% of it just to show up and play. And that's not including money and whatever prize money is on offer there.
Shane Lowry was asked why he's going to Saudi Arabia, and this is public knowledge anyway. You know, he said, "Look, politics is. I'm not a politician. I'm not getting into the politics of the thing. I'm a professional golfer, and that's how I earn my living."
Okay, well, okay, he's right to that point. However,
that's correct.
He's correcting the point, but he's also an intelligent man.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I have a problem with, right? Yeah. That people would say that, oh, I'm only a sportsman. Okay, so does that mean that you can do it? So what? That's, to me, that's saying, well, I'm taking drugs because I'm only a sportsman, right? We all know it's wrong, right? I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to places like Saudi Arabia and places like that. I mean, I found it very comical that the British government were investigating the Newcastle deal with the Saudi government, yet the Saudi Arabian government, yet the British government sell arms to the Saudi Arabian government. So, I mean, you know, what's the problem here? Lowry is his own man, right? And I understand what Joe's saying. He can make 20% of his earnings in a year in 4 days. Fine. But for him to say, well, I'm only a sportsman, I know nothing about politics, that's belittling his own intelligence.
Well, probably
the normal line for those guys will be that they're trying to grow the game. That's what they're...
Yeah, they're going to set up a women's golf course out in Saudi Arabia.
Companies will be saying,
they're trying to grow the game.
We're going out there to support junior golf and grow the game for Saudi.
Yeah. But they won't have a ladies' club out there.
No, probably.
So
probably
I mean,
not.
who are they growing the game for? They're growing the game for men going out to play, and the women be shafted again. Like, you mean, look what happened at a soccer match the other day with Iran. Iran qualified for the World Cup. They were playing Iraq, which I'm surprised the two of them were actually on the same field, but that's what they did, right? They allowed a dozen women football fans to go to the match under secure. They had to go in a separate door to the stadium, and they had to stand by themselves, and they only were out to watch for like 15, 20 minutes and then shafted out in the street again.
Just when you hear those things, it's not carry on. But anyway, look, we wish all the golfers well, and hopefully someday these things may in their own right, like as you said, the World Cup going to Qatar.
I mean, the point about a sportsman saying, I'm only a sportsman. Fine, but you're also a very rich sportsman that can make decisions of your own mind. Okay, he decided 4 years in 2000 and when was the Rio Olympics? Was the Rio Olympics
2012?
2016. He decided not to go down to the Rio Olympics because of the virus that was on at the time there. He made that decision, so he's an informed individual. He's also an intelligent individual. So Chris, the point
Chris, do you think there was anything in it? The fact there was no prize fund?
Absolutely, totally, 100%.
The virus has been the best result ever.
The virus was actually the best get out of jail card he had.
Exactly, perfect.
And as you say, Chris, he said he was a sportsman, but it's also his business. It's his livelihood.
Yeah, but but hang on a second, Anna. The point I'm making about Lowry or people like that is this, okay? He made an informed decision in 2016 not to go to Rio. Yeah. Now, people could have said, "But you're not a doctor." Oh no, but I'm worried about my own health, my children's health, my wife's health. Fine, right? However, if he went to Saudi Arabia with his wife for this golf tournament, now I take it she's not going, she'd be completely treated differently to what he is, right? So the point I'm making is as an informed individual and as a wealthy individual, he could have decided not to go. Now, I'm not saying that he's making the right decision to go or not to go. That's not the issue. The issue what I have a problem with is that he is saying, I'm only a sportsman. That's basically diminishing his own intelligence.
Well, we leave the man alone. Before we finish, back to soccer, because 12 o'clock tonight is the deadline for these transfers. Derwynne, our friend is going nowhere. Our friend, our own fella, Harry Kane. He's not going anywhere. Did your club come in for him at all?
I've a bit out of the loop on the football at the minute, but I can't believe he's staying at Tottenham unless that was just he's been paid some kind of deal to stay for the season.
And Joe, are you surprised that Kane is staying at Tottenham as he thrown the towel in?
No, I'm not surprised one bit, because he'll just go to the end of the season when he'll be a free agent, and he'll get what he wants from that. And you know, it's Tottenham's fault for playing the game, you know, or he'll just see out the season, and then whatever he's got left on his contract, he'll make a big deal about it, and they'll let him go. It's the same thing with Pogba. I mean, we haven't heard anything about Pogba in the last month and a half. He's going to be gone. He's going to be gone at the end of the year as well.
And our friend Mario Balotelli is brought back into the Italian team, brought back into the fold again by Mancini. I always liked Balotelli.
Yeah, I mean, he was a strange dude at times, setting off bottle rockets in his bathroom.
There's a great story about Balotelli. Balotelli was playing for City, pulled in some petrol station in Manchester to fill up his Bugatti Veyron, and literally went in and paid for everybody's petrol. And somebody said, "Why are you doing it?" And he turned around and he said, "Because I can."
On that note, I think that's a good. Thanks to Joe, Anna, Derwynne, and Chris. Thanks for all your work tonight again, and it's very much appreciated. Until we meet again next Monday, hopefully, from this edition of the Final Whistle on Their Media. Until we meet again, take care, lads, and good luck.
Night.
Good night, everyone. Take care.